courtesy of Zero Hedge. This will be only the beginning of this type of stuff. Crony capitalism at work. Boeing threatens to leave U.S. if XIM subsidy is yanked. If you yank our subsidy, we're going to leave. When has crony capitalism really gotten out of control? How about when a major U.S. corporation, as a matter of fact, a huge defense contractor no less, is publicly threatening government officials to leave the country if the federal government doesn't continue to boost their profits through what amounts to government handouts? Boeing is stepping up pressure on opponents of the U.S. Export-Import Bank, which threatens to shift manufacturing abroad if the agency that finances purchases by foreign customers is killed off next month. Scott Scherer, Boeing's head of regulatory strategy at Boeing Capital, said the Aerospace and Defense Group would, quote, not sit idly by if the XIM banks, or was that XM, mandate was not renewed by the end of June. Quote, Boeing is not going to let itself be hurt by the lack of an XIM bank, he said in an interview with the Financial Times. If it means sourcing to other countries who will support us, we may have to look at that. Other countries have more aggressive export policies. We will find an alternative. First, and then back to Zero Hedge. First, let me state the obvious. This basically sounds like blackmail to me, and I don't think lawmakers should look at this kind of behavior favorably. Second, it's time for Boeing executives to understand that it's not the role of the federal government to guarantee that they can sell as many planes and weapons, planes, types of stuff, as possible, as well as regular planes, passenger planes. They've benefited from the U.S.'s relatively free market system. They should have to live with it. You can't say, well, we've had a subsidy the whole time. That's like someone at the bottom of society who's struggling, who's been getting handouts for like ever. And now they're really, really used to these handouts for so long that they feel that it is your duty to continue giving me these handouts, no matter what my situation has or has not become. That handout is mine. And if you don't give it to me, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Well, you know what? Don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. And finally, I don't think Boeing's threat is very credible. Will Boeing really pick up its factories and move abroad if XIM isn't reauthorized? Is the possibility other governments might subsidize it really worth the transition costs and the risk of losing billions in defense contracts? Thankfully, Jeb Hensarling, chairman of the House Committee with jurisdiction over XIM, called Boeing's bluff. The Republican chairman of the House Financial Services Committee rejected reports that Boeing or other companies might have production overseas if Congress doesn't reauthorize the Export-Import Bank. I doubt I believe it, he said. Now, he's a representative of Texas, which said this at a Washington press conference Tuesday about whether failing to extend the bank's charter would drive major corporations out of the U.S. I think it's frankly a bit of bluster. Boeing, based in Chicago, might move some manufacturing overseas if Congress doesn't extend the bank's charter, beyond June 30th, the Financial Times reported May 17th. It cited in an interview with Scott Scherer, blah, blah, blah. But finally, letting the XIM bank, XIM is just standing for export-import, really. Bank's charter expire will go a long way to show that Republicans understand the difference between being pro-business and being pro-market, even if Boeing doesn't. So you have a major military industrial complex company that has reaped, you've seen some of the price tags on these pieces of equipment that they've made, whether it's just a passenger airliner, which, you could say, well, maybe that's, they're millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, but, here's the reasoning. Okay. But when they start making military vehicles, whether it's aircraft or whatever, and then they show you the price tag on those turds, and a lot of times, before we even have agreed, as a country, the government has even agreed to say, you know what, we want this new aircraft you're making. A lot of times, we're giving them money to make a prototype. So here's some bonus money. We don't want you to have to make your own prototype, on your own dollars like any other company on the face of the earth would do. No, you're a government titty baby. Just like many other defense contractors. So we're going to give you some, research and development costs to help you along the way. And then when you're done spending those billions to create something that maybe we don't even want, and we ultimately say, we don't like that, we're going to scrap that one. Doesn't really matter because you got help, with those costs. Maybe a little too much help. So you've been used to that as a company. That's one thing that wasn't even mentioned in the article. And then you're also used to the many times where you do create, some prototype aircraft or whatever, and we decide, you know what, we do like that. We're going to use you guys for this, new fighter jet or whatever it is. Even a cargo plane, doesn't matter, whatever it is. Because you can say, well, that's, how come one of these other airplanes is, such and such millions of dollars, passenger airliner, and the military version is a little bit bigger, can hold cargo as opposed to, 100 passengers or whatever. But why is the price tag like, 3 or 4 times more than that? Because they have a little stamp on there that says this is for the military. Government's going to pay for this. Which also means, kind of like Halliburton, Dick Cheney's former company, said we're going to sell you a 6-pack of soda for $35 since you're in the Middle East. Now you could buy that same soda, Coca-Cola, in the Middle East, except it didn't say in English Coca-Cola. It said in Arabic Coca-Cola. And you might look at that and say, what the hell am I reading? But you would see the can, recognize the can. Oh, that's a Coca-Cola can in the same color, so I know this is Coca-Cola. It just doesn't say it in English. But you could have still bought it locally. No, we are going to ship in from across the damn world directly from one of our favorite contractors known as Halliburton, and pay them $35 per 6-pack or 12-pack or whatever it was of soda. Now that sounds like a plan. So now remember, picture now you're Halliburton and you don't get that anymore, or you were subsidized even though you were charging $35 for a few cans of soda. You were subsidized. And I don't know that that's the case with Halliburton. I'm just using that as an example as far as the subsidy. But you're used to this handout. Again, once you get a handout for long enough, you automatically expect it, and it becomes, say, it's mine. I'm owed this. I've always had this. You're not just going to take it away all of a sudden, or I'm going to stomp my feet and get angry. You see that with people who have been on government assistance for too long, and then they finally get cut off. they don't have a good reaction. This isn't just the people. This is a defense contractor who's going to huff and puff all the way back to hopefully the bank that gave him its subsidies and say, we want this help, this little bonus that we were getting, whether it was, you know, a massive tax break on something or whatever, they want it back. So remember, if you got your little business models, for example, I'd love to use the banks. Banks are my best friends ever. I love the banks. And, I don't know, JP Morgan, I'll just throw a random bank out there you probably never heard me say. JP Morgan has a business plan that says we will commit felony financial crimes against humanity, really. But these are felony crimes. High level. I'm talking probably third degree, all day long felonies. By rigging markets, rigging things, and then getting caught later and saying, well, we'd rather settle with you for whatever fee the government comes up with. Well, the government agency that deals with that is usually the Securities and Exchange Commission, sometimes the CFTC, whatever. And every great once in a while, even the Federal Reserve. So all these entities are all basically looking out for each other, because when they leave the regulatory agency, they want to go get a high-paying job where they don't have to do much of anything and kind of retire, so to speak, at one of these companies like JP Morgan, who are going to pay them handsomely for the settlement offers they were given all these years. So JP Morgan will take billions of dollars in profit over a little period of time, and then ultimately get caught. You did this. You're not going to admit you did it, but you're not going to admit you didn't do it, so we're going to do what they call a settlement. You admit no guilt, and you're going to pay us $500-600 million. Us being the federal government. But us being the federal government wasn't the one harmed by their actions. The little guy, citizens, and other people, citizens of other countries too, but for this purpose of this video, our country, right? We were hurt financially because you may have paid extra interest on something you didn't have to. Maybe you went out and bought a commodity such as food, gasoline, whatever it may be, and it was higher than it really should have been because they've been rigging the price. So they made billions and billions. That's their business model. So imagine telling the banks one day, this whole business model you guys have, where we settle out of court and you pay us this little piddly fine basically after you've made billions, that's going away. Matter of fact, there is no more settlement. If we throw charges at you that you've done this, we're going after you like any other criminal. We don't allow a bank robber to get off by paying a fee. Where he robs the bank for $2 million, we fine him $50,000 and we let him go without admitting guilt so he can go do it again. And he does go and do it again, by the way. The banks do it over and over. It's their business model now, right? So could you imagine that coming out and telling the banks, there's no more settlements. That's going away. If you do something wrong, we're going to nail you, and you're going to do prison time. If you're the CEO and this is happening under your company, whoever's responsible, again, because if you try to play this I didn't know card, and maybe you didn't because these companies are so huge, you're going to be left with an option. The only option is we're going to break you up to make you smaller so that more people are held accountable. We're going to break up your business, and not only that, someone's going to jail. Maybe more than one person is going to jail, prison, for a lengthy sentence. The banks would stomp their feet and cry, we don't want to do that, we'd rather just pay the fine, right? Their subsidy. That's the subsidy. Their subsidy is homemade, where they make it. We rape and pillage the taxpayer, we get caught, we pay a tiny fine, not back to the taxpayer who we did this to, no, but to the federal government who doesn't deserve it or honestly even need it anyways. We're so in debt, that little tiny payback means nothing. Where it belongs is back in the market, back in the commodities market, wherever they raped and pillaged everybody from. Which means you banks are no longer allowed. If you're a bank, you're a bank. You lend money and that's it. You are no longer this investment giant powerhouse where you can go in and buy up the whole damn commodity market. You can buy up the entire gold and silver market, the food, other metals, whatever. Commodities in general. You can't do that anymore. You're gone. All of a sudden, you'd see the market work like a market. No more rigging. No more stranglehold where gold's stuck at 1,200 and silver stuck at 16 something. Which I think we all know is going to, by force, turn around anyways. So again, you can only do something for so long. And once people start to realize and figure out what you've done, it's only a matter of time before you just, for whatever reason, can't be done anymore. And again, we've already seen China, they're coming up with all these different markets. They're like taking over, being ready, getting ready to take over those functions that we've had this whole time. Whether we want it or not. Every meeting they have with all these other countries, even our own allies in Europe, they're having meetings with China and Russia. Let's make trade agreements and this, and we're like kind of in the background, like in the way out of the meeting, like security won't even let us in. Like, hey man, I'm with Germany. That's my boy. Yeah, but you didn't come in with them. Is your name on the list? America. How do you spell your name again? America. Got it. America. Yeah, actually, you're on a separate list that says my boss said if anyone under this list comes up here, throw them out immediately. You guys you're on that list. All right, see you later. We're not even being invited, not even kind of, not even somehow, not even maybe, not even a little bit, not even in the future we might work with you. You guys, us, aren't allowed to even show up. What kind of symbol or sign, if you were just standing back, which you are, looking at this event taking place, and then seeing another one just like it taking place, other countries coming in, we're working with China and Russia, no America. Oh, one of our allies now, haha, they're not going to do it. We are friends. Oh, you just did a deal with our enemy, so to speak. And they won't let us in on it. I thought we were boys. I thought Germany and I thought we were friends, man. You can be friends with the bully all you want. But when the rest of the people wake up and say, hey, anyone that associates with you, you hang around crap, you smell like crap. We don't want you coming over here smelling like crap. So either you're with us or you're with the old crappy guy over there. Well, that crappy guy is us now. Is becoming rapidly us. Because of these damn crooked politicians, these defense contractors, the whole military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex, the banking, criminal financial industrial complex, who are just doing anything that they can for themselves with our name tag stamped on it. So, as any other country experiences, we don't care which part of that industrial complex is hurting us all this time. We look at that as that's America. They don't look at it as, well, as this, old J. Snip 4 and the citizens of America, we hate you. No. They see what our country is doing as a whole. So anything attached to America, which actually does include us, they don't like. It's nothing personal, I don't think. For them, it's just, hey, you guys have screwed with us for so long, we're tired of it. We're now realizing why we've been hurting this whole time. Why we've been struggling financially this whole time. Because of you guys. And I remember a long time ago, they say, oh, America uses, 25% of the world's basically output, resources, output, everything. That's how great we are. We're just so on top of things. But wait a minute. We're using 25% not of America's own, of the world's output and stuff. We're using 25%. Well, wait a minute. Are we anywhere? We must be somewhere near 25% of the population of the planet. No, because that would be around 1.5, 2 billion people. And we only have like 300 plus million. So what you're telling me is we use way more than our fair share of the world's resources, so to speak. That's why, so that's why we're going all over the world to steal other people's resources and oil. We got to keep this going. So on one hand, you may agree and say, well, honestly, if that's what it takes to keep this lifestyle, you know what? Sorry about everybody's luck. I'm okay with it. And you might say that. And I can see, as I just explained, why you would and can even understand. But there's a whole rest of the world that's on the opposite side of that. And what they're thinking is that, no, we don't think you should get 25% of the whole world's resources and output because they're ours, and we know you make up these phony fake wars and go to countries you have no business going into to pretend there's some bad guy there so you can take over their resources. Again, you can only do something for so long before everyone figures it out. The whole world is figuring it out rapidly. So ultimately, you're left with, you guys have done this to us for so long, you're just being cut off, you're done. At that point, anyone that said, well, I don't care, we can go wherever we have to go to maintain this lifestyle, I'm okay with it. If my troops, our boys need to go fight somewhere, let them do it. We've got to keep this lifestyle going. And I remember George Bush Sr. in the 90s said to the whole world in a big televised conference, he had news for them, and that America's citizens' lifestyle is not negotiable, with a massive roar of cheering in the background. I think the world is telling George Bush Sr. and the rest of them, us, yeah, it's actually real negotiable, and you're going to find out soon. Take care.